Alright, so here we go. Here is my theory on what we're looking at with Cloud Strife. And this works with OG Final Fantasy VII too. This is not just encapsulated to Final Fantasy VII, the remake saga. This is not just encapsulated into the remake saga, right? Okay. So what do we know about Cloud Strife? Well, what do we know? We know his mom, right? We know his mom, sweet lady, really nice lady from Nibelheim. What do we know about her? Absolutely nothing. Except that she lived in Nibelheim. And Nibelheim is pretty much owned by Shinra. That reactor gives them full access to everything in Nibelheim at all times. They have the Shinra mansion there. They have the reactor there. Nibelheim is a corporate town of Shinra. Even when it's burnt down, they rebuild it. So it's different from Benora, I think, in that respect. Because I think Benora, in some ways, was its own thing, and Shinra was just there. I think Nibelheim is a construct of Shinra, as far as we look at in the scope of Final Fantasy VII. So, we know Cloud Strife is from Nibelheim, right? We don't know who his father was. What else do we know about Cloud, right? He was the only one present that was able to have the willpower to overcome and overthrow Sephiroth, right? Okay. What else do we know about Sephiroth? I mean, what else do we know about Cloud? Cloud is repeatedly spoken of by Hojo as a failed experiment, right? Could he just be talking about what happened in Nibelheim 5 years ago? For sure. Or could he be talking about something else? Now, so, Cloud Strife, born and raised in Nibelheim. We don't know who his dad is. We don't know what affiliation his mother had with Shinra or none. I think you know where I'm going with this. He has the ability to counter Sephiroth in many, many instances. And he is able to survive in the live stream. He survived for a long time in the live stream. Not only that, we know he's susceptible to Mako poisoning. So how is he susceptible to Mako poisoning, but he can survive in the live stream, right? Okay. The other big thing we know now. Hojo recovered Ifalna and categorized her remains down to the cell, down to the strand of hair, down to everything in his laboratory. But they were taken into custody when Aerith was a little baby. Whether it's a newborn baby or a 3 to 6 month old baby, we don't know. Swaddled in a blanket, Aerith. Professor Gast, Ifalna, had a child. Her name be Aerith, right? So, Ifalna is taken into custody and Professor Gast is killed when Aerith is right around 3 to 6 months old, right? Okay. Roll with me. Scott, y'all already see where I'm going with this. So, the one being that can counter Sephiroth, in my opinion, would need to be at least created in the same manner that Sephiroth was created. But, Sephiroth is probably about 6 years old at this point, right? I think he's 27, roughly, in Final Fantasy VII. So, it stands to reason that when Ifalna is taken into custody by Hojo, they start running tests, they start taking DNA samples and stuff like that. Just taking her blood, running it down to DNA samples and all this kind of stuff. He has the cellular structure of a pure-blooded ancient, right? Aerith is a half-breed ancient. She is half-blooded. But Ifalna is full-blooded ancient, right? The last full-blooded ancient. So, it would stand to reason that if experiments are being performed at Nibelheim, have been for a long time most likely because of the murder, death, sex, torture dungeon looking thing in the basement, and the failed soldier specimens that are put inside of those capsules inside of the reactor, Nibelheim is a hotbed for experimentation. Now, let's say for kicks for a second that Cloud's mother is affiliated with Shinra in some way. You know, maybe she's just a worker, maybe she's a reactor worker, maybe she just works around the we don't know, you know. But it stands to reason that she could have become pregnant, or we don't know who the dad is. The dad is less important than anything with this theory. And again, take it with a grain of salt, take it with a tablespoon of salt. You know what I mean? But what if, in the same way that Lucretia was injected with Genova cells, and the same way that, was it Genesis or Angel? Jillian, I think, was injected with cells while Angel was being born. So Sephiroth, Angel, and Genesis. Correct me on Genesis. I'm not 100% on Genesis, but I think Angel was injected with Genova cells. Those three were created from childhood or the womb, right? Cloud is injected with Ephalna cells. He is injected with Ephalna cells, and he is born to some degree with ancient DNA. But if you look at Cloud when he's a child, he's a mopey, unassuming, pretty much unathletic, kind of bit of a loser, right? And I say that lightly because I was a lot like Cloud when I was a kid, you know, a loner, all that kind of thing. But Tifa really liked him, but he was just like, I'm going to go become soldier. The rest is history, we understand. But what if Cloud was created by his mother having Ephalna cells injected into him? Now, the time makes sense. I've done the math on the time. So if Aerith and Ephalna are taken into custody when she's around 3 to 6 months old, they're instantly getting, you know, DNA swabs, blood samples, and stuff like that from Ephalna. His mother's already pregnant. And they get the DNA and everything to inject her. Basically, as long as they grab Ephalna and Aerith by the time she's 1 year to 1 year and 3 months old, I think this works out. So she's much younger than that. So I think it works out. Cloud is just Cloud Strife until confronted with what? With what? A threat to the planet. Cloud is just unassuming, regular Cloud, nothing special about him or anything like that, until he's face to face with crazed Sephiroth holding Genova's remains, a threat to the planet, and his ancient DNA is activated. I think that's what Cloud Strife is. I think that's what's special about him. Hojo can experiment on any person, to be honest, in that town. Yeah, exactly. You could put something in the water in Nibelheim. It doesn't matter, you know. So I think when Hojo was talking about Cloud as a failed experiment, I don't think he just means Nibelheim 5 years ago. I think he means, and again, Hojo probably forgot about him because he might have done this experiment with a lot of kids. And so now, let's move on to the Cloud and Aerith connection. I have always said I don't think Cloud and Aerith feel like a romantic couple. So let's talk about the Aerith-Cloud connection, because I've always said I don't feel like they're a romantic couple. I feel like they're kind of like a brother-sister. They feel like they care about each other on a familial level, because they never feel romantic to me, right? Aerith has some attraction to Cloud, some draw to Cloud. Aerith has some draw to Cloud. Something that about him that she just can't describe. What if she's sensing her mother's energy in Cloud? What if that is the attraction? And Aerith's mother's cells are looking to protect Aerith inside of Cloud. What if that is what's going on with it? Tifa's 20, Cloud's 21, Aerith's 22. Okay, so Aerith's 22. I thought she was 23. Still works out, though. The timing still works out. So what if the Ephalna cells in Cloud are eagerly trying to protect Aerith? Right? So that's what I think we're looking at with Cloud. We are looking at a kid who came out of the womb with ancient, instead of Genova cells, because Hojo's already played with Genova cells. He's been playing with that for years. He's bored with it, right? Soldier program is up and running. All this kind of stuff's going on. they're watching 6-year-old Sephiroth run around and display abilities or whatever. If all the ancient cells, he finally has ancient DNA to play around with. So, the why tell Cloud not to fall in love with her? Well, because that's how she's seen it. They don't know. Cloud doesn't know he's got that. She doesn't know she's got that. Maybe she's sensing that from Cloud, right? Maybe she's sensing that. The only person that might know that is Hojo and whatever lab assistant he had killed after the experiment that helped him. But no, so that's a possibility for Cloud. Is that what's going on? I don't know. That's my theory, though. I've always thought that there was something special about Cloud. At a time, I thought that Cloud was a descendant of the Ancients also in a way. But I don't like that now because that really demystifies and makes it less special, the whole last remaining Ancient. If Marlene might be one now, Aerith is definitely one. 3 is really crowding the van, you know what I mean? So I don't like that thing. But if he was experimenting on with ancient DNA, we might have a keeper. That might be one to put in our back pocket and refer to later. So you heard it here first. So I also think that if you remember, Cloud had an extra hard time after Zack, right? Well, after him and Zack escaped Nibelheim, he just could not recover. He could not come out of it. He had Genova cells in him now, and it was taking an extra hard toll on him, like because the ancient cells inside of him were fighting with the parasitic organism, the Genova cells. So the fact that he has been able to make it work leads to the final point. Sephiroth wants Cloud to grow stronger. I think Sephiroth wants to inhabit Cloud's body because he can, because he just has to activate the Genova cells in a point of weakness, right? I think that Sephiroth now knows that Cloud has some tie to the Ancients. Like he understands that, you know, what the Ancients are is a little bit different this time around than what he is, you know? So I think he wants a taste of both of those things. I think he wants... Can you imagine Sephiroth with abilities of the Ancients to control the life stream, to converse with the life stream, and not in a corrupted kind of way, like in a pure way, to really enact his will? How insane would that be? How insane would that be? That is the whole theory on what I think Cloud Strife is. A true beast of a character, possibly. And this isn't a MacGuffin kind of thing where, you know, oh, we're just going to make Cloud all powerful. No. Because it actually makes his job harder. Because he's handicapped by the ancient DNA with the Genova DNA in his body. So I think it's a way to go. I think it could be a wild way to go, a wild twist on the character. But yeah, for a while, because you know he's from this Twilight Zone type town in Nibelheim, and Nibelheim is well documented in video game history as being like very X-Files. Like everything that happens in this town is just straight up weird, right? People disappear, strange things come out of the reactor, it gets set ablaze and then is rebuilt and nobody seems to remember it. I mean, it's crazy Twilight Zone X-Files type ish, and that's why everybody loves Nibelheim. Cloud is an enigma from beginning to end, and by the end of Advent Children, we still don't completely understand what Cloud is. So this time around, I think we're going in. I think they're going in. I think they're going to be like, okay, this is what's up with Cloud. It's not just his strong will. He has ancient DNA within him. It could explain his inexplicable tie to Aerith. Hojo going in constantly on him being a failed experiment. Because if you look at what Cloud can do now, the Nibelheim experiment would have been a success. Like if you see Cloud running around and tear ass and now as a soldier first class when he didn't have an ounce of ability before and he just took to it and he survived, that's a success. So in my opinion, he's a failure for a different reason. And we've always just kind of accepted it as, well, it's, you know, because of Nibelheim and all that kind of stuff. We just accepted it. But what if we're not supposed to just accept it? What if it is that? It is that exactly. Because Remake made a point, a horrific, horrifying scene of a point, to tell us, the audience, that Hojo has categorized every piece of Aerith's mother. Like, he can whip out, he has access to ancient DNA. At any point he chooses to inject it into somebody or experiment or play around with it, he has access to it at all times. There we go. That is my take on that. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to get me a drink, and I'm going to open it up to questions. We can have a live discussion here about what we just talked about. I want to say a quick thank you to my YouTube and Patreon members and supporters. If you would like to support the future creation of content on this channel, get some few extra perks and some art sent to your door every month, consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. Details and links are in the video description.